All right, you want to get into this topic about Lenovo's upcoming reveal.
Yes. So Lenovo is having a special gaming handheld event, and this was recently announced, as a matter of fact. And what made things interesting is that uh, w- Lenovo has a special guest there at this event, which is who exactly is this again? So this is the name of. Blech. The special guest is Valve, SteamOS, and Steam Deck co-designer Pierre-Loup Griffay, or I'm not good with French, so Griffes. And so Lenovo and AMD are calling him Valve's chief design architect for purposes of this event. And additionally, there is someone else from Xbox gaming devices and ecosystem joining as well. Jason Ronald, who is the vice president of the Xbox gaming devices and ecosystem, and he's being introduced as Microsoft's VP of Next Generation. So this event is primarily going to be focused on their Lenovo Legion handhelds. Nothing more has been said. The event is going to be roughly around January 7th of next year. So very soon, within the next 2 weeks, I believe. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that we know right now. And then one thing was mentioned is that there's possibly a Steam button that was equipped on the Legion Go S that was leaked by someone named Evan Blass last week. But that is pretty much everything we know right now. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that the idea of having a SteamOS Legion device is cool. My main question with that is whether it would just be basically the same in terms of power as the regular Legion Go, or if it would be more like the newer model of the Legion Go that, in terms of the power. I mean, I can see obviously form factor, it's smaller and it doesn't have the detachable controllers. But I mean, like I'm all for having SteamOS on more handheld PCs. Personally, I wouldn't get one for that because, like, unless it's just dramatically more powerful, I can't really see a good reason to get something like that. But even then, it just, there has to be something that makes it stand out enough to me to where it makes it something that I would actually want to buy. Now, looking at the supposed leaked images of the next Legion Go, which has the detachable controllers, which have always fascinated me for the handheld, particularly like the mouse mode for the right controller. That interests me way more. I mean, as it stands, of the various handheld PCs that have been Windows based, the Legion Go is the one that's interested me the most. And if there's a revision coming that potentially has more power and an OLED panel, you certainly got my interest a lot more. Now, that being said, I still probably wouldn't buy one. But I would happily. I mean, if I won one, I would happily check it out because there are some games that I can't run on the Steam Deck. Lots of games that would probably run better on the Legion Go because it's more powerful than the Steam Deck. Plus, of course, it's Windows-based, which, makes up for where Proton cannot handle things. And that mouse mode has always seemed interesting to me. Plus, if, it would be assumed that the upgraded version would have better functionality on that from that standpoint than it did in the original model, that it would be improved. And of course, obviously the OLED panel, which is a huge plus to me, would also mean I could do another comparison thing, except that it would be Lenovo Legion Go versus the Steam Deck OLED, because I don't think, I mean, yeah, I could do the Lenovo against the Switch for sure, but I think that it would be more interesting to have handheld PC versus handheld PC on that standpoint. Especially because the Legion should be quite a bit more powerful than the Steam Deck. But the only way that I could see myself actually doing that is if my channel was monetized, because if my channel was monetized, I know that that would be something that could get views, which would mean more money for that, and, you know, more income, which is helpful when you're a single income household. But yeah, not really sure if I have any other thoughts on that matter. I mean, we know Lenovo's doing something soon, and I'll be keeping my eyes on it. I just know that I don't have a justifiable reason to buy one, even though I would love to, because it looks great. I just, even if money was not the issue, I don't know if I would play it enough to justify the purchase. Either that, or I would play it a bunch and then I would stop playing it, and it would just end up collecting dust most of the time. Or I'd play it for a handful of games, and yeah, I have enough devices collecting dust as it is, and I don't need more. So, anyway, take it away.
All right, so I really hope that from what we can take from this so far, this is going to be something something that leads to SteamOS just being available for download on every handheld PC, because I know that's something that a lot of people want, because they might not necessarily want to buy a Steam Deck, but they do want to have that, you know, that game UI available as soon as they turn on their handheld. They don't want to necessarily turn their handheld PC on, go to Steam, open it, and then turn on big picture mode or something like that. I mean, I don't know how it works on other handhelds, but just if it is, you know, since it's window based, that's sort of like what I'm picturing in my head. And I know that some people might say, no, they might use Nobara or Bazite or Chimera OS, but at the same time they might say, well, this still isn't the pure SteamOS experience that I want, even though they're giving me something that is similar. We still want the exact SteamOS experience. So I can understand that. This is something that I do hope. And I also would like this to be something that gets pushed out, because I also do want to see eventually if we could get this available for desktop performance, because if, say, someone wants to make their own sort of mini, even if Valve doesn't make this at all, and this is something that just people have been speculating about, I know people might still want to make their own Steam machines. So if they actually have SteamOS and say, hey, I can have a console-like experience on my PC in my living room, and just download SteamOS, available right there, good to go. Set up, make a nice small little, a small form factor PC, put it right there, and I have my sort of console available to go. So that's another reason why I would like SteamOS to, just be closer to available, just for distribution. And of course, that would also involve, Valve. Unfortunately, Nvidia's getting better at this, but just in general, hopefully them being able to get SteamOS compatible with Nvidia GPU, so that way people who don't necessarily have to go and buy a AMD GPU or have to worry about their GPU not being supported, and they still want to just use it right out the box. So hopefully that's what this is leading to. But similar to you, even if this is something where it's just them putting out a Legion Go with SteamOS, it's not something that I would get, because while it technically, like you said, would be more powerful, it is essentially more or less what we're getting right now, where it's just a device with SteamOS. And that's not enough justification for me to get it, because, I mean, technically, on that same sense, I could go buy an ROG Ally and just download SteamOS and, have the same thing there. So I would want to do something that is possibly different, or something that might be slightly different. Like, for example, with the Orange Pi Neo that is supposed, I don't know when that's coming out, but that is it's not SteamOS, but it's completely based on Manjaro Linux, and I've used Manjaro in the past as a daily driver. So I'm very interested in seeing how they would try to take that and make that into a sort of SteamOS experience. While I'm not entirely certain that I would buy one, especially at launch, it's something that I would be interested in because it is something that is different enough from being just SteamOS. So I would be intrigued in buying that, but I don't know. I would just have to really wait and see and know for certain what we would be getting out of this Legion, just to know. Like I don't know how I would feel about detachable controllers. I mean, I don't feel like personally it would be worth it for me, just because of the fact that, just based on previous experience with using a Switch with the Joy-Cons, if I'm not using my Switch docked, I would really just be using it in handheld mode. I wouldn't really be using it in tabletop mode, so it wouldn't really matter that much to me. But granted, at the same time, another reason why if I did use it in tabletop mode, I would most likely just be using a Pro controller anyway, just because I really prefer those controllers more.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because I mean, for one thing, also in some sense, I kind of don't know how the Legion controllers work, just because I don't really use it too much, but I don't know if I would miss having the trackpads. That's just something I'm not entirely certain about either. But
for sure.
But this is definitely interesting, though, and definitely, as you said, something to keep an eye out on in the future, just to know how things go forward from here.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the detachable controller thing, like, in general, I'm not sure if I'm super interested in it, because, like, I like it sometimes with the Switch when it's docked, but that's really the only situation where I make use of that. With this, it's more just because of the mouse mode that I find so interesting, because, like, I remember watching people test it out on the first Legion Go, for both shooters and for, like, Ghost Runner was an example where they used it. I think it was actually Ghost Runner 2. And for something like that, it'd be like, yeah, okay, I could see that being really useful for that situation. And that is, like, the one and only reason why that interests me. Because there's games like Destiny 2 that only run on Windows, and considering my experience playing Destiny 2 on the Steam Deck with Windows was kind of mixed, particularly because I didn't have mouse controls unless I plugged in a mouse and keyboard. That's something that I could see being interesting, but that's really about the extent of it. I mean, the one nice thing is that if I did ever get something like this, the dock that I have that I use for my Switch and my Steam Deck would work for the Legion Go. So that's pretty nifty. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that.